Hi, Dana. How you doing? Just reading through your writing. Good job. Really great written description. Not only summarizing your methodology, but also your concept development as well. So this is really fantastic. Thank you so much for including this. Let's go ahead and jump right over to the ad. I think it's really a fantastic start. The background image is remarkable. I think you've done just a gorgeous job um, adjusting that background image. The color distribution is gorgeous. You mentioned a filter on that. I think it really worked. I think that the impressive thing about the adjustments on the background layer is there's no area that has lost detail. We can see that both in the shadow and the highlight areas. And it's quite often that in this type of image, especially since there's direct sunlight, it's quite often and very typical that you lose detail in the highlight areas, specifically where the sun is hitting something white like the sand. But you haven't. You've maintained detail in that area, which means a really good job in your adjustment layers. Fantastic job there. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the ad in terms of the page mechanics of the ad itself. Um, Sorry about that. Okay, so mechanically, it's a good ad. I think there's a couple of things that are impairing the really effective harmony of the ad, and I think it's that there's two things. It's these uh, rectangles in the background, the white and the purple rectangle. It's a good technique. Right now, I just think it's not transparent enough. I think it's still got too much visual weight, and this one isn't transparent at all. So I've got a couple of recommendations. Okay, so what I would recommend doing is this. I think we don't need this configuration up here. I would rather have the logo be somewhere down here in the lower right-hand corner. And the reason that's such a great place, it's a great exit strategy because typically we start a composition up here in the upper right and we kind of move across and down like we're reading, right? Start here, move to the right and down. Typically we exit the page right here. So to reinforce branding, I often will place a client's logo right in that area. Since we're going to exit the page there likely anyways, might as well reinforce the branding by placing the logo in that specific area. I think your hammock is calling is a really interesting. Um, it's a good headline. I do not recommend stroking type. I'm going to be placing an announcement in the announcements area probably this week. Or I'm sorry, next week, and it has to do with stroking letter forms. But as a designer, you should probably get out of the habit of stroking. That's the outline on letter forms, and the reason being is because it actually changes the way that the letters reach the mean line, the way the letters sit on a baseline, and the distance, the space between letters is also affected, including the shape of the letter forms themselves. So stroking is something that most professional designers will advise against. There's another technique. You would just duplicate the type, change the color, place it behind, and offset it a little bit. And that's a much better technique, a much more effective technique than actually stroking the text itself. So, okay, so now back to this area right here. So I would recommend we move the logo down here, take the contact information, reconfigure the typography there, and place it down here. It's going to entail a couple of things, okay? Now, your hammock is calling. You can just place that, just use white type there, and just watch my cursor. So something like this, so we'll take that area right there. We'll use that as our left margin. Make sure you draw a guide up here. Start your hammock is calling right about there like that. Don't center it, left align it so it's about like this. So your hammock is calling in white type. It'll be really easy to see. And that's the only thing. And you can, I think it would be effective to add a subhead too. So your hammock is calling, and then right below in a Arial bold italic, only at Amethyst Bay or something like that. Your hammock is calling only at Amethyst Bay. Okay, then we have we're going to be confronted with the issue of fitting the logo and the contact information down here. So what I would recommend here is this. The background it was a fantastic idea to lower the opacity on the background so it's transparent, but I still think it's too heavy. I would really lower that opacity quite a bit. So get that thing almost completely transparent. So there's just a hint of purple to assist the viewer in reading the type. This received $1,500. I would go ahead and I would incorporate that into the type here. I would take this configuration right here, and I would just create a paragraph, an informational paragraph. Start with receive 1,500 and resort when you book 5 nights or more. You won't need ready to unwind, and then you'll just take all of this information right here, configure it in verbiage that is conducive to an actual paragraph, instead of kind of like these bullet hits. So like join us for an adult all-inclusive stay, relax, and just transpose that all to sentence case or sentence structure, and give us a little brief paragraph with all of this paragraph, all this information in that paragraph. You can set it in white. You could even reduce the type size a little bit. Left align that though. Don't center align that. I would keep that left align. What I would do is once you get your left margin set, you can even take that, start it right about here, come to about here with the type about right here. I would remove this second set of drinks. Don't need it. It's actually would be considered redundant because there's nothing that the second drinks don't say in terms of communication that isn't already said by the first set of drinks, right? So we don't need that. So basically what we would do is just start our type right about here or so and go left align, rag right, and then just make sure your type ends somewhere about right over here, something like that, in that area. Then right below that, you'll put contact information. That may entail having to increase this purple bar to the bottom of the page. That's okay as long as you're going to reduce the transparency. And then you'll place your contact information right here, and then your logo right here. Now, keep in mind, it's going to take some reconfiguration. I'm not saying you have to take this logo and fit it in this tiny little place. I'm saying this whole thing will have to be reconfigured, and try to do so without moving this up in the composition. I think this is good right at the bottom of the hammock. We don't want to cover that hammock up, otherwise that's not going to make sense. Make sense? Okay. So those are my recommendations. Try it. I think you'll like it. I think it's really going to bring the ad to another level in terms of page harmony, and in terms of creating a synergy based on type and image by eliminating this kind of effect that some parts are advancing in the composition while other parts are receding. Right now, I'm getting the type here as being laid over the composition as opposed to incorporated within the composition. Okay, and that's how you'll create page harmony, is incorporating that type into the composition and not laying type over the composition. Hope that makes sense. Great start, really nice start. I'd like to see those changes incorporated. If you would like to make some changes and run this by me again, I'll be glad to provide another set of comments. If you're working, I'm working, right? Remember back in week 1, that's my promise. So I don't mind giving additional critique. If you want to submit something and run it by me, I'll be more than glad to comment. All right, great start. Thank you very much.